case, the whole case, and nothing but the case of the whole thing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please be seated, restate and respell your name for the record, please.
My name is Casey Donahue, Casey Donahue.
Give me 1 second here. This was working a minute ago. Pause at 11:51. Detective, when you first reviewed this video, well, how many times have you reviewed this video, first of all?
I reviewed it.
And when you listen to the audio, how are you listening to it?
I'm listening to it with pure code, voice.
And what do you hear being yelled during those last minute or so of that clip?
What she's yelling is, he did that, call the fire department, call the ambulance.
The subject that that person is sort of pointing at walks south on 30th and then turns onto Walnut, right?
Yes.
That's the video we watched yesterday.
Yes.
I'm going to show you exhibits 447 and 448. Are these 2 screenshots from that video?
Yes, yeah.
I moved those 2 exhibits in. It's 447 and 448, and that's published.
Any objection?
1 minute. I'm sorry, 1 minute. Can I see those again real quick? No, I don't have any objection.
They're received into evidence. You may publish.
All right, and these screenshots, I have exhibit 190 on the screen here. These screenshots were from the video that we watched yesterday, from this building here that I'm circling with my finger, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I'm going to put them up on the elbow here. .447. And that's 448. Looks like, how else are you doing?
The subject is wearing dark clothing. The top is a hooded sweatshirt or jacket. The pants are dark pants. It appears that he has like a tan colored shoes with white sole on them and a camouflage or tan rucksack style backpack.
He's walking westbound on Walnut on the north sidewalk, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And in that direction, about 1 block would be the 31st and Galena playground, right?
Correct.
After Miss Robinson had been reported missing and her car had been found burned behind 2900 block there, West Lisbon, were people, including law enforcement as well as family and friends, canvassing that area extensively to try to find any clues about what happened.
Yes.
And that was almost round the clock, right?
Yes, it was.
Were you part of that?
I was, yes.
Obviously, you've already talked about you going to these places and getting these videos, but you were also searching what areas around there. And I'll pull the map back up if it helps.
Am I able to move this back? There's a glare.
As long as all the jurors can see it, yes.
That would be Sade Robinson's murderer, Mr. Maxwell Anderson. This is We-On-Loc Nation, which is covering bits and pieces of the Maxwell Anderson trial. Again, this is Sade Robinson, scheduled over a year ago, somewhere in Milwaukee. They dated for 1 day. They ended up going back to his estate, driving her car and he ended up unaliving her right then and there. Obviously, all of this was orchestrated. Let's continue.
Is that okay, Your Honor?
Is that better for you with the glare?
It is, yes.
Can all the jurors still see? Okay, that's fine. Please proceed.
Okay, you can answer the question. I just want to know what areas you were searching.
Sure. So my initial responsibility was to go and canvass the area for video surveillance. When we noticed the subject go southbound on 30th Street, we then go to the 1651 address on North 30th Street. We then see the subject walking westbound on West Walnut. We then canvass to the west, and we are unable to locate additional video. So myself, other detectives, and some uniformed officers then conducted a canvass of the playground area. I had knowledge that there were train tracks that were located down in this area right here. We then walked down to the train tracks, canvassing for additional evidence, and that's when we received a call stating that
Objection, hearsay.
State,
I can just ask a follow-up question.
go ahead.
All right, so you're searching basically, actually, why don't you come down here, detective? I'm going to have you use this pen marker. I have one.
Do you want a Sharpie?
I think I have one, Your Honor. Thank you. Why don't you just trace on Exhibit 190 the route you're specifically talking about to help orient us as to where you were searching?
so this is the area that we started at the subject around 30th Street and westbound on West Walnut, and we then
Yeah, that's not me. That's them. They're what they're doing is they're trying to um exhibit demonstrate the exhibits of where the perpetrator was at the particular time in the case. um doc What's his name, Maxwell Anderson's every movement, where he was at that particular time, because obviously we all know that he's a serial killer, and the whole thing was basically orchestrated, but they're just demonstrating patterns. This is the officer that was investigating the scene, I assume, but let me continue.
Okay. You can have a seat. Thank you.
I know.
Yeah, so that's not me, that's them. You'll hear clearly in a
They're
minute.
searching on April.
we find that human remains were discovered in the wooded area just east of the Detective Cassie Linder.
Did you subsequently assume the responsibility of documenting? So this would have been
Yeah.
about what time? Do you recall?
It was nighttime. I recall that the two pieces of human remains were collected at 1:14 and 1:16 a.m. So we were
So the
unable to
pieces were
confirm
collected 1:15, 1:16 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you just give us an idea of how many people were canvassing that area, searching
he's talking about the remaining pieces of her body. They found a leg, and this is in Milwaukee, so Lake Michigan. I forgot how vertical that is to it, but needless to say, they found a leg at first. They found another leg, and then they found a torso, and of course they found an arm later on. Two days later afterwards, um, more like he was having them trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle or something.
During the initial canvas that I was part of, I would say approximately 11.
And shout out to Mrs. Starborough, by the way. I recently gave her a DM, and she's been following me ever since. She just wanted everybody to keep her in her prayers. Her daughter just graduated last year. She has another daughter, graduated last year. I feel more sorry for the father more than anything, because it looked like in that review he was about to snap, and I wouldn't blame him.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 191. Got a map of the 31st and Galena playground.
Yes, it is.
This document where the remains that you all been recovering were found.
Yes, yes.
Move 191.
Any objection?
No.
It's received.
Subsequent days after the night from the 5th into the 6th, in the subsequent days, were additional body parts found that place.
Yes, it is.
The map documents where the remaining two documents were found as well.
Yes.
Got on the new Exhibit 191, the map of the 31st Galena playground. You got 3rd Street on the left side of the map, correct?
Yes.
All right, and on the north side is Walnut. The video from 1630 West Walnut, originally when we watched it, they started at 6:50 a.m. when we saw Sade's car driving westbound, correct?
Yes, I was at 1651.
Okay, can you tell us, just point out where that video was covering when we saw that car driving?
An approximate would be this area right here.
So kind of facing northwest?
Yeah.
All right, so 6:50 a.m. her Civic is going westbound on Walnut past that building, and then it turns north on 30th Street, right?
That would be eastbound on West Walnut and then north on 30th Street.
Thank you for correcting me. So right next to this part.
Correct.
Then at 7:30, a few minutes after, is when we see the subject walking westbound on Walnut, that those screenshots were from, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, you can have a seat, thank you. I'm going to show you exhibits 109 through 145.
Oh yeah, and that's funny because Umar went over to, I think he somewhere in Britain, and challenged his father to a debate. Now I can't wait for that video footage to come out. Yeah, he had a dungeon and everything. But when they came to the scene, that wasn't his blood. That wasn't her blood. That was somebody else's blood. Let's move Word.
Retaining wall that would separate the train track area from the playground, right? Okay, 127. Oh, and these yellow cones, those were items placed there by you or your department?
Yes, I placed the cones there, that depicts, where the pieces of evidence, were located.
127.
Premeditated. Mhm.
That's a closer photograph of the
Mhm.
evidence markers. You see the retaining wall.
Yeah.
The pathway down to the train tracks, the pier to the left.
Okay. I wish they would have put a microphone to his face. But needless to say, yes, this is not his first go round because, like I said, when she went downstairs, it was pretty much um, it was a whole mess. Plus, there was like a tunnel being built down there. I guess he wanted to play with his victims before they ended up being dismembered. Uh, she found she found something that she shouldn't have found, which was the blood on the walls and stuff that mainly was not hers. And he ended up deleting her on the spot. This is not anything new, by the way. I'm not no we've known serial killers. Jeffrey Dahmer was one of them. Let me turn this thing. Hopefully they're talking.
With that amount of trash there, you didn't know what might relate to it or what might not relate to it, meaning the body parts.
Correct.
Okay. Did you mark or notice, mark as evidence certain items that you later came to conclude probably had nothing to do with it?
Yes.
Exhibit 130, that's just the retaining wall, correct?
It is, yes.
131.
They said that they.
Looks like cone 8 on the right, lower right there. And then 132. Items 9 and 10, which are located in the woods near item 8. What are those items?
So, item number 9 is going to be a smaller piece of flesh that was recovered, and number 10.
Mainly her flesh and bones.
133 is going to be a slightly closer view.
Because as you well know, once you cut up a certain part of a person's body,
144 is going to be a close-up of
you're
number 9.
cutting up bone tissue or whatever else, and it lays out to be a big mess. So,
And 135 will be a close-up of number 10. (136), number 9. 137. Is this sort of just an image of the retaining wall in the relation to where those items were found? Those body parts of flesh?
Yeah.
Okay. How big were items 9 and 10, if you could describe?
Detective Jen, can you pull that mic back around towards you, please?
about time. Jeez. No one can hear you.
Thank you.
The smaller piece of flesh was approximately 2 by 2 inches. The larger piece of flesh was approximately 6 by 6 inches.
Here's 138.
Where is she? I think I have her right here.
What is that cone down there? Number 11?
Yes, that's going to be evidence marker number 11.
And do you know what number 11 was?
Yes, number 11 was a human foot.
One 39.
And you know what? I can't believe that he had the nerve to plead not guilty. What is the point of pleading not guilty? I'm not getting that.
The foot is to the left of the evidence marker.
It is, yes.
One 40.
Yeah.
What's that?
That is a closer photograph of the human foot that was recovered.
141.
So in this
My,
photograph, we're depicting that the toenail polish on the human foot was pink.
And this foot on the top of the image, that is the retaining wall, right?
It is, yes,
So the foot was right up against the retaining wall.
yes.
what will he be entitled to? What? Why? What he thinks he entitled to? What? Entitled to a fair trial? What? I mean, you entitled to get it too early in the morning for this. Too early in the morning. Entitled.
142.
What do you be entitled for? And of course,
When the
that's
foot
her
was found,
family in the
was it
back.
covered by some leaves there?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead to 144. Another view of where the foot was. And 143 and 145 are going to be images of the foot. The cut line at the ankle, how would you describe it, Detective?
It appears to be a straight cut that the foot was severed.
So he used an axe or yet a chainsaw.
Top view from the ankle.
Yes,
Are you able to see that same straight cut just from the top?
yes,
And there's another piece of flesh coming off of the ankle, correct?
that is correct, yes.
Like, share, subscribe to the like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe.
So in sum, Detective, when that night, when you documented that scene, that would have been the night of April 5th and then going over to April 6th, you located a total of 3 separate pieces of human remains, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Can you just reiterate what those 3 separate things were?
Yes, the 3 separate human remains were a smaller piece of flesh, approximately 2 by 2 inches. The second piece of flesh was larger, approximately 6 by 6, and it was the left foot, human foot.
Was the medical examiner called to the scene?
Yes, medical legal death investigator is their official term that responded.
That would be your standard practice would be when you have a homicide or a case that involves recovery of human remains that you would summon the Milwaukee County medical examiners to the scene.
Yes, that is correct.
And do they then recover the human remains?
Yes,
Was that done here?
it was, yes.
Were Was there a specific case number assigned to the recovery of the remains we just discussed?
Yes, there was.
Was it medical examiner case number 24-02399?
Yes.
Just an update for those who are just now coming in. I think it's what? I'll read that later. For those who are coming in, we're going through and examining the update of the trial here that just started 4 days ago. Yeah, Maxwell Anderson, a white supremacist, is responsible for Sade Robinson, a 19-year-old girl who dated this man, a 33-year-old turned 34-year-old man. They were at the bar. I guess he's a realtor. He owns property. He owns real estate. He took her back to his estate in her car, burned the car after he unalived her. Yeah, unalived her, chopped her up, and then burned the car. I guess he didn't want any evidence left behind, but quite sloppy in his work. Quite sloppy. It took people days on end to find the missing body parts, including the head and the torso. Let's continue.
As we had indicated before, there were a number of other items in any way.
No, they were not.
What could you just give us a rundown of what those other items were?
Yes, we located, I believe it was 5 spent casings. We located a wrapper. We located a doll that was screwed into a tree. I recovered screws that were next to the doll. There was a burlap sack that initially we believed may contain human remains. When we opened that burlap sack, it was a dog that was placed in the sack, and it was rotting at that point.
What?
Casings, right?
Hey.
Yeah.
Did you mention that? Okay. Those casings, were they like worn?
It was hard to tell how long that they've been there.
In some, those other items seem to have been items that had been there for quite some time. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
This dude's sick. This dude is sick. Next one,
Yes. No, that was found at a later time. Yes. That is correct, yes.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
This was Maxwell's father and making a statement on the behalf of Sade. On behalf of myself and my family, I would like to express my deepest sympathy and heartfelt condolences to the family and the loved ones of Sade Robinson. We are shocked and devastated by her senseless death. Steven Anderson wrote a statement released by the attorney film uh, uh, represented representing Dr. Claude or Dr. Why did I put Dr. Claude Anderson in there? Maxwell Anderson, Sade's mother and father. Words cannot express our sorrows and our incomprehensible pain and grief you are going through. We join the entire community in celebrating Sade's life. Uh, I get real irritated when people especially when white folk feel like they're entitled to some shit. Just leave me, just leave us be at that point. Because if I say one word, I'm going off. If that were me, Maxwell Anderson was charged Friday with first degree intentional homicide, multi laying of corpses and arson. In a court appearance Friday morning, his bail was set at a mere guess $5 million, and his father has the money to bail him out. Father has the money to bail his ass out. Yes, we are. Oh, I told people I was going to cover this as soon as the trial hit. Trials take months, sometimes a year, maybe two, depending upon the cases. They got to get all the evidence together. I covered this back then, way back then, but I wasn't going to let go of this by a long shot. And even with the other cases going to be going on pretty soon. I forgot what the sister's name was because I'm blinking, and it's like 6:41 in the morning. I ain't gotten any sleep. Sonya Massey. Now that I get Sonya Massey, I will be covering that shit too. Trust me, trust and belief. I will be covering it. Shouts out to everybody who's on who is covering this also.
Cross-examination.
Good morning. What was in the backpack the person was wearing?
I don't know.
You've studied these videos, you said dozens of hours, hundreds of hours you've spent watching the videos?
I believe I stated that I watched the videos dozens of times.
Okay, thank you, dozens of times. Can you see blood on the backpack?
No,
Um, one would expect that if they were putting body parts in a backpack, you'd see blood on it, wouldn't you?
that's fair to say. Sure.
In the dozens of times you've watched, and when you say dozens of times you've watched the tapes, we're referring to really all of the tapes that you had canvassed throughout that area, right? Because you've watched all of them multiple times.
Yes.
Did the car, the Honda Civic, did Sade's Honda Civic ever stop at the park here that's on the screen on Exhibit 191 at Kalina?
I don't know if it did or not.
You're not sure.
No.
And that's because there's no video that actually shows that car ever stopping at that park, right?
That is correct.
And similarly, it's true that there's no video of a person getting out of that car at the park at Galena. You would agree with that as well?
Could you repeat that question, please?
Sure. There's no video of a person getting out of that Civic at this park area at Galena, is there?
No, there was not.
Certainly we have the video we've seen of a person walking, but I want to talk about the videos of the car. In all the videos of the car that you've watched, who's driving the car? Can you see?
You cannot see who's drive. No.
Can you see a gender of a person? Today, where there was the passenger window was going up. Do you remember that video?
Yes,
And that was actually when the car was going sort of near that playground area, right?
yes, that would have been eastbound on West Walnut, just prior to turning north on 30th Street.
Sure. And in that video, when the passenger window was going, Mr. Curzan asked you about the passenger, but you also couldn't see a driver in that video, right? That video, when you study it closely, can you see, are there body parts of any sort visible in the car when you look in on that video?
Not,
In 100 West Lisbon, where that tape, that footage was secured from, correct?
yes,
And you were involved in actually getting that video. You talked to the owner of the liquor store and acquired the video, right?
yes, that is correct.
He was cooperative with you and turned it over, correct?
Yes,
Isn't it true that you also you don't work alone? You work with Detective Ryan Casey, also, don't you?
yes,
So, and he's part of the homicide unit as well, so he's trained on these types of matters.
yes, yes,
And is it true, would you agree with me that oftentimes when two people work together, one detective might do the report, another detective might not do the report, right?
yes, that is correct.
And so sometimes when people are partnered up, if you work closely with Ryan Casey, he might be the one to draft the report on April 5th. You might be the one to draft the report on a different date, right?
Yes,
You would agree that was the day when you and Detective Ryan Casey went to Lisbon Liquor to get those videos, right?
yes,
And in fact, the Mr. Singh, Parmejit Singh, Paramejet, took you into their room where they have the DVR, and he turned over those tapes.
yes,
And you guys actually watched it right away on.
yes, we did review them while we were at the liquor store.
You would agree with me that and now this is 3 days after the incident, after the 3 days after April 2nd, right?
Yes,
Between April 2nd and that date, you never spoke. We saw the two women that were on the street in front of the liquor store, right?
yes, that is correct.
But between April 2nd and April 5th, neither you nor your ever spoke to those women, right?
Yeah, and, whether they, I cannot speak for Detective Casey, whether he had spoke with them at any time or not.
Okay, and the two of you watched, right? You can only speak to who you've talked to. You have not talked to either of those women, right?
I have not.
Now, on April 5th, when you watched the tape, you would agree that that there was a report written about the two of you watching the tape. Fair to say?
Yes,
In that when you guys watched the tape, you could see the women on the sidewalk, and that they were pointing in the direction of the person. You noted that, right?
yes,
But you would also agree that in the report, it's indicated they're yelling something, quote, inaudible. Would you agree with that?
that is what Detective Ryan Casey's report reflects. My observations and what I heard on the video is what I testified to.
Sure. Did you report?
It's kind of funny because she drove the car.
No,
Now, eyewitnesses. Well, how long have you been a detective? I'm
since 2000.
certainly eyewitness testimony can be a form of evidence in any criminal case, right?
Yeah,
And it can be important because it can help you. It can help shape your investigation, for starters, right?
yes,
And it can help you pursue leads. An eyewitness might tell you to look at a certain area, so that's another reason it could be all right. an eyewitness could be right. That's because an eyewitness can be accurate or correct.
Yeah, when we speak with eyewitnesses, we'll want to corroborate any sort of information that's given to us.
It has to be wrong.
Yes, that is correct.
They can make a mistaken identification, video surveillance, DNA evidence, but eyewitnesses can be wrong,
We will definitely find out.
right?
Question?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
And
we can.
in their ability to observe, in this case, for example, we watched the video again this morning, and you saw the woman who's pointing, right? The woman who's pointing and making the statement. She really only looks over in that area for about 6 to 7 seconds. Would you agree with that?
In which area are you referring to?
The 2900 West Lisbon footage, when we see the man walking across the field and she goes, he did it or whatever she said, she only looks over in that direction for about 6 to 7 seconds. Would you agree with that?
I would have to watch the video again, but that is an approximation.
Okay. And obviously,
This is a detective.
she may you would agree with me that a person who is making an observation, their view can be impacted if they're under the influence, right?
Yes, amongst other things,
What are some of the other things?
stress,
Weather conditions.
yes,
Obviously, if a person knows someone or doesn't know someone, that can be an important consideration too, right?
yes,
Making an in terms of making identifications as a detective, there's a procedure you can use as a detective to try to, I'm sorry, give me a minute. As a detective, there's procedures you can use to try to make an identification, right?
yes, that is correct,
You can do what's called a live lineup,
correct,
where you take a group of people, one might be a suspect, some people aren't suspects, and you put them out in a room, and there's a process to it, but essentially the eyewitness can choose if they see the person.
yes, that is correct,
And there's also photo arrays that can be done where specific photos are used of, for example, Max Anderson, and then other photos of other people to show, is this the person you saw, right?
yes,
That you never did that, you yourself never did that with either of these two women, right?
I did not, no.
Now,
Detective Donahue, can you pull that mic towards you again? Thank you.
in the woman on the street who's pointing, I'm sorry, you never had her do any photo array or a live lineup. Do I have that right?
I did not speak with her, no.
Did you ever hear that on any of the tape you watched? He threw a lighter.
I did not, no.
Did you investigate any other car fires at that location, either before or after this incident?
I am not an arson investigator, so that is not a part of my duties, so I cannot speak on whether other car fires occurred at that location or not.
You said that there was basically canvassing around the clock. Did I have that correct?
Yes,
When you say that, are you talking from April 2nd when the car is lit on fire until until April 5th or 6th? What did you mean by that? When did the around the clock canvassing start?
I am unaware of the exact date that it started. The sheriff's department did reach out to the Milwaukee Police Department, and they asked us to assist in recovering video pertaining to this case. I can't say which exact day that was, but it was in approximation would be maybe 2 days after.
Got it. April 4th or April 5th, somewhere around there.
Correct.
In between April 2nd and April 4th or April 5th, no body parts are found in that area.
That was the first time any sort of human remains were discovered at that park.
April 5th.
Yes,
Max was arrested April 4th, you know that?
I don't know exactly which day he was arrested.
Okay. The person with the backpack on, that person wasn't running.
No,
In any of the videos you watched, was that person running?
no,
Or appeared to even be in a hurry, right? Didn't even appear to be really in a hurry.
no.
And when you looked in that park on April 5th, when you examined the park, one of the things you just said you found were spent bullet casings.
Yes,
Well, that's evidence of a shooting, right?
yes,
Used condom, whatever, make of that, whatever you will, could be two people had sex, obviously, right?
yes,
Okay. You found a bag, a burlap sack with remains in it of a dog. That could be evidence of animal cruelty, right?
correct.
High crime area, agreed?
Yes,
Meaning that area surrounding that park and even Lisbon Avenue.
yes,
There's lots of police response in that area.
yes,
Now, the person on the tape with the backpack, you pointed out the shoes.
Backpack with the
were
hoodie.
white shoes. Remember that?
Backpack with the hoodie.
don't believe I stated white shoes.
I thought you said white soles on the shoes. You were directing us to look at. No?
Yes, so it would be towards the bottom sole area.
Okay, that's what you were pointing out though, right?
Yes,
That person did not appear to ever have gloves on, did he?
I don't know.
Well, you never saw gloves on that person on any of the videos, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
And nor did the person appear to be wet.
I'm sorry,
Nor did the person appear to be wet.
wet?
Wet. Covered in water, soaking, right?
You can't tell from the video that I was watching.
Okay.
I don't know what it is that prosecutors are trained to do, but they do a good job at deflecting.
And then 307, same thing.
Yes,
308,
The fuck is that?
is that the doll?
yes it is.
And it looks, it might not be perfectly visible.
What
It
the?
appears that there's a screw right in the middle of the forehead and then two of them on the eyes.
Yes,
And is that blood smear on the side of the tree as well, the red substance?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. So some person, and this is in the same park where you find human flesh, right?
Yes,
Move these exhibits 306, I'm sorry, 305 through 308 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection to the admissibility. However, the numbering of them, I think, is going to conflict with exhibits we've already numbered. But we can address that later.
Okay.
That's my only.
I will receive them. And actually, I think we're going to renumber them right now.
So I just want to,
Rural portion of the landscape, correct?
Correct.
Did it appear to you that it had been intentionally covered?
To me, yes.
The blanket, is that something that was recovered by law enforcement
Yes.
and it was placed on inventory?
Yes.
Let me get to the witnesses. Just let me get to
I'm going to
the.
have Detective Donner show you.
Because of course he was snooping around for anything. Remember, this is a rich kid, unless he actually paid somebody to actually have the setup. But remember, this was his estate. They clearly went to his house, and all the evidence was there. Tools were there. Blood was there. In the backyard was dug up. He was digging something up. I think it was like an 8 by 9 or 8 by 16 of whatever it was in the backyard. It was a pretty big backyard. But I'm trying to get to the witnesses. Let me see. Oh, and oh, by the way, let's see. Let me go back over here. Robinson's cell phone. Robinson's cell phone record showed she arranged a meet arranged to meet someone at 5 p.m. at the Twisted Fisherman restaurant, 1200 West uh, Carnal Street, for dinner. Management and workers at the restaurant told investigators that Robinson was there with Anderson, a former employee. The two left the restaurant shortly before 6:30 p.m. went to Duke's on Water went to Duke's on Water, whatever that is. 158 East Julian uh, Juliana Avenue, I believe. Arriving in Robinson's Honda Civic, which he burnt to a crisp. After 9 p.m., they went to Anderson's home. 9 p.m., they went to Anderson's home. So, and during that time, there was no phone call to the. I mean, she's 19. I was just assumed that at that age, that parents stop calling because you're off in college or whatever, finna graduate. So, but I would never stop calling my children. But that's just me. After 9 p.m., they went to Anderson's home on the 3100 block of South 39th Street. Around 12:45 a.m., Robinson's phone left the area and went to the Milwaukee downtown, eventually reaching the River West neighborhood at the Plentice Value Park. From there, it went to the Waterfront Park area, Watermount Park area in the Defahan. I don't even know these places, where it stayed until the phone battery died. In other words, at 4:30 a.m. In other words, her phone was still in her pocket. Phone was still in the pocket, possibly ringing. Phone was still in her pocket, possibly ringing. So you're going down to all these particular places. I dump your body and your cell phone. Of course, cell phone's in your pocket. Your body parts travel in opposite direction. The phone, which was in this woman's pocket, ended up traveling south. The woman in the park area is where a severed human leg was found. A severed human leg was found 5:29 p.m. April 2nd. Video at the park showed a Honda Civic at the park until 4:30 a.m. A human figure was seen walking down a bluff several times. He was seen walking down a bluff several times and back to the area of the car. At 7:32 p.m. April 2nd, Robinson's burnt Honda Civic was found near West Lisburn Avenue and North 29th Street in Milwaukee, which was officially later determined that Robinson's clothes and other belongings inside. On April 6th, police found a foot in the area of the burnt car that appeared to be found from the same body as the severed leg. So he was just basically dumping bodies everywhere. Using the video witness statements, police identify Anderson as a suspect who burned the vehicle. He boarded he boarded a bus that took him near his home and arrived there on foot. That's where you saw them basically examining where he was at the time, where he boarded the bus from whatever he was in down back to his home. He boarded the bus that took him near his home and arrived there on foot at about 8:35 a.m. Early that morning, April 4th, sheriff deputies stopped Anderson's vehicle and arrest him. Preliminary results of blood testing on the severed leg determined it belonged to Robinson. And that was it. So this miserable son of a bitch had nothing but time. Nothing but time. But let me get back to the thing at hand. Thank you for being patient with me. Let me see if I can find that witness. Not that one. Damn. Oh, okay, cool. You know what?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Hold up. Let's do this.
Good morning. How old are you?
21.
Were you friends with Sade Robinson?
Yes.
How long had you known Sade? What school?
Craig Montessori.
Close friend did you consider Sade?
My best friend.
She was your best friend?
Yes.
What sort of things would you do with her?
Talk on the phone
Hang out with her?
when we can.
Okay. Did there come a time in April of 2024 where you contacted law enforcement because Sade was missing?
Yes.
Can you tell us how you came to find out that Sade was missing?
I was at work. I checked my phone. My cousin asked me if I was okay. I called her. And then she said that she saw something on social media about Sade went missing. And then that's how I found out.
This was around the beginning of April of 24, right?
I can't remember the exact date, but
Sure, fair enough. Do you recall how long prior to that you had last seen Sade in person?
I can't remember.
The last time you hung out?
Can't explicitly remember.
Okay. How about the last time you two talked before that?
Pretty recently over the phone.
On the phone?
Yes.
Do you remember what you talked about?
Not exactly.
Did you know that she had recently gone on a vacation prior to that?
Yes.
Where did you know that she went to?
If I remember, that's when she went to her Jamaica trip.
Okay. You found out about that from her directly?
Yes, we were on the phone when she was on the trip.
Had you talked to her from the time she got back from the trip until the time she had gone missing
Yes,
on the phone?
yes,
When you found out, I think you said it was from your cousin that she was missing. Is that right?
yes.
When you found out that information, what did you do?
I can't remember the exact timeline of events.
That's fine. I just want to know how you responded to learning that information.
I believe I called my partner to pick me up from work.
And did you eventually contact law enforcement?
Yes,
Did you meet with a detective and talk to him and share information with him?
not in person.
Not in person. Did you talk to one over the phone?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you know what Life 360 is?
Yes,
What is Life 360?
it's an app for you and your family to keep track of locations, make sure that they arrive safely, all of that.
Did you have Life 360?
Yes,
Do you have Life 360 now?
yes,
Did you share your location with Sade?
yes,
Did Sade share her location over Life 360 with you?
yes,
When you found out that Sade was missing, did you ever check Life 360?
yes,
Did you also have Find My Phone app?
yes,
Is that a similar kind of service?
yes, just through iPhone.
So one's through iPhone, the Find My app, and then there's a whole separate app, Life 360, right?
Yes,
You shared your location with her on both.
yes.
When you contacted law enforcement, what information did you want to provide them?
My last, with the apps, her last locations that I had on my phone.
And how did you provide that information to them? In person, on the phone, over email?
Screenshots over email.
Okay, I'm going to show you exhibit number 39. I'm going to hand you exhibit 39. It's a stack of papers. Just looking at the very top. Do you recognize the first page?
Yes,
What is on the first page?
me contacting the person to say, hi, I have information.
This is an outgoing email from you to a detective.
Yes.
And the detective that you emailed, what was his name?
It looks to be Detective Brian.
Okay. Move up a little bit here. About halfway through the packet, did you send another email?
Yes,
And was it to the same detective?
yes.
What was the content of both of these emails? What were you sending him?
Information related to her whereabouts that I had.
From those apps?
Yes.
Both of them or just one?
Well, I see the first one says Life 360 and Find My.
Okay,
Can I see the second?
sure.
It doesn't look like I explicitly said the two apps again.
To your recollection, what you attached to these emails were those the screenshots you took?
Yes.
And is that what exhibit 39 is showing? You can page through it if you'd like to.
How much you want to bet that this whole thing will stick with her for the rest of her life? For the mere simple fact that she can't call on her friend again. For the mere simple fact she can't be nowhere near her friend again. All because of this incident. Hell, just imagine just how much the mother feels.
Yes.
I move 39 in and ask to publish.
Any objection?
No,
39's received. Go ahead.
I'm going to put these up on the TV for you, okay? Just make sure you can see it, right? Failing the first,
At 7:40 p.m.
I'm gonna go flip to page 2 here. This is a part of a screenshot you sent, correct?
Yes.
What app are we looking at here?
Life 360.
And what is it showing about Sade's location? Can you describe that for the jury based on what you're seeing on this screenshot?
It said that Sade was in a drive from that street to another street, and that's how long it took to get there.
Okay, you said that street to another street, there's a map on the screen, right?
Yes.
And there's this sort of line here, right?
Yes.
What does that line mean to you when you're looking at this app?
That's the route she took.
Okay. And it starts,
Sometimes I can't remember. It usually tells you.
you can go ahead.
And at the bottom goes all the way up the top.
Says drive details, right?
Yes.
Where does it say that she drove to and at what time?
She drove to 1137 North Water Street at 6:30 and arrived at 6:35 p.m.
So basically a 6-minute drive, and on the previous page, that's the route she took.
Yes.
Fair to say? Even tells you the top speed,
Yes.
30 miles per hour. This would have,
I'm not sure.
okay. Go to the next, sent a screenshot of another drive. Is that right?
Yes.
A little bit of a glare, I'm gonna see if I can break it. Does that make the route clearer?
Yes.
What do you want to look at what time?
9:06.
Ending at what time?
9:28.
If we go to the next page.
Yes. 12 Water Street at 9:06 to South 40th at 9:28.
Top speed was what?
69.
And if you go back to the previous page, you put the freeway systems in Milwaukee?
No.
All right. From looking at this, does it look
Sure.
like she used the freeway, or are you not?
Chicago speed limit.
I would assume she used the freeway, but
Why are you assuming that?
north to south side is usually that's
Page, so I'll actually start at the second page. Dale's telling us about here.
that she was 38 a.m.
And that white dot where the beginning of the trip, the map, the cutoff piece of the map here at the top of the page, that white dot, I'm pointing to Jackson Park. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Then going back to the previous page, point to the trip, you see is up above the word locals too. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
notify of another trip.
Can you repeat that question? Yes. That's how life, but add, do you mean like,
Let's do it this way. This screenshot is one you sent, correct?
Yeah.
The trip began and ended.
201 to 253?
Point dot is up here next to the word Shorewood, right?
Yes.
And then it kind of zigzags back and forth. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then goes down towards the bottom of the page, right?
Yes.
All right. And then if we go to the next page, we don't change line, goes initial national, is that right?
Yes.
And then it goes up the previous page, you see at the bottom of the screen where the trip ends.
Cudahy?
Okay, that dot at the lower right side, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And to reiterate, Life 360 was telling you that this trip ended at 2:38. That's at the top.
Yes.
Okay. Next screenshot. What does this screenshot mean to you?
That she was located from that time.
And what is the time that's on that?
3:24 a.m. to 4:35 a.m.
Okay. And the next page, that would just be the location details from the previous trip, right?
Yes.
This is different. This isn't showing us a trip, right?
No. The location she was at.
Okay. The next page. This one looks a little, what are we looking at here?
The Find My.
So the one we were looking at before were like 360.
Yes.
And this is Find My.
So it's like a
Yes.
GPA location.
This icon right here, the photo of Sade, right?
Yes.
That's how it appears when you look, when you pull up the Find My app and search for someone.
Yes. It depends on if you have the contact photo for that person.
You have Sade's contact photo, I take it,
Yes.
and that's why it's showing up here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to the next page. This is just a continuation off the previous page, but the bottom of your phone screenshot, what is it indicating about the location?
That she's at the Weremont Golf Course.
And does it have a time?
It just says at 4:33 a.m.
It just says yesterday, but we know from your email, you sent this to Detective on April 3rd, right?
Yes.
So that's 4:33 a.m. That's where Find My app was telling you Sade's phone. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
The second email, right?
Yeah.
And you send a more screenshot.
To provide whatever information I had.
Okay. The screenshot we're looking at here, at the bottom, it seems to have that same drive that we started off with, right?
Yes.
Go to the next page. Moving ahead, 9:06 p.m. to 9:28. It even tells you phones, right?
Yes.
This time frame would talk about Sade's 9-mile drive that she made from those times.
Yes.
And the map, are you familiar with what town the map here?
Semi.
Okay, what part of town is it, in your own words?
Downtown East Side.
You recognize what this is? Okay if you don't.
All this tells me is they had that one harmonious day. Stopped at a couple of places, stopped at a restaurant, and of course, later on that night, they stopped back at Aries place. But they met online. They said that they met online, but all this illustrates to me is that this was planned from the beginning. This came out of his mouth, his camp, or whatever. And of course, I think his dad is some type of, I don't know, mayor there. I don't know. That's why his bond is set for like $5 million. Did his dad have the money to bail him out? Absolutely. Did his dad bail him out? No, he didn't.
Maybe the Pfizer forum.
So maybe the Pfizer forum?
Maybe the Pfizer forum.
Next page, more details about that trip, right?
Yes.
Now we go back in time, 4:55 to 5:04 p.m. Is the Pfizer forum again here?
Possibly.
Okay. She used her phone at some time according to this, right?
Yes.
What time?
5:01.
And the trip details from this, tell us what?
That she went from 1619 North Farwell Avenue at 4:55 p.m. to 598 West Canal at 5:04 p.m.
Top speed?
38.
Says car braking 1.
Yes.
Do you know, are you familiar with the area of 1619 North Farwell Avenue?
I'm familiar with Farwell, but not the exact address number.
Okay. What part of Farwell are you familiar with?
Like I believe it's called like the Lower East Side.
Did you know Sade to be familiar with that area too?
Yes.
How come?
Her job,
What job?
pizza shuttle.
Next page. Just a screenshot from that trip, right?
Yes.
Next page. Part of that last page, right? Same screenshot.
Yes.
This just shows her hard braking at 458 near North Jackson Street, right?
Yes.
This screenshot that I have up here, is this Find My or is this Life 360?
Life 360.
You know Life 360 to be able to give you information about the battery life of someone's phone?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you tell us what we're looking at here? In your own words.
My condolences, Miss Tanya. My condolences to you and your family.
that she did a 29-mile trip from 2:01 to 2:53 a.m. That her battery was low. So what it shows is that low battery drive detection is disabled. So some of the features start to, you know, and then that she was at 3335 North Gideon Place from 138 to 2:01, from 12:48 to 1:38. She did a 10-mile trip.
All right, if you go to the next page would show that 10-mile trip began near South 40th Street, correct?
Yes.
At 9:20. Pick up the phone and you send a text message, or are there other ways?
Oh my goodness.
And when you spoke with the police, it was your goal, obviously, to try to be helpful to the police, right?
Yes.
Because it's important to try to, for you, it was important to try to give information.
No problem. No problem. That's why I tell some of these knuckleheads, you ain't cherish things. You need to cherish life's memories. Because we're not going to be in this bitch forever. You see, this is the reason why I'm covering, one of the reasons why I'm covering this story. The girl was 19 years old. She didn't even get a chance to sniff life, let alone live it.
So the police could hopefully solve the crime, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you hadn't actually seen Sade since January.
Yes.
Okay, but you would text with her and communicate by phone, right?
Yes.
When you text, are we going to
Texted the phone message, or might have sent a message through Instagram.
Okay, that was my question. The word text means sending a message. Well, DM, you could DM someone through Instagram, right?
Yes.
And you can communicate. Yeah.
I didn't really use Snapchat.
Okay, you weren't friends on Snapchat?
I personally use it.
Okay. Were you and Sade back then in April of 2020 linked or connected on Snapchat?
I believe so. I just don't typically use the app, so.
Okay. Facebook is another way to message someone.
I don't use Facebook.
Okay. Because you were friends with Sade, you knew she lived over on Commerce Street in that apartment building, right?
Yes.
And you had been over to her apartment, hadn't you?
Yes.
Now, you guys talk, would you talk every day, or how often would you talk or text with Sade?
Often.
That's daily?
Sometimes daily, sometimes once a week, depends on how busy.
Okay, and this Life 360 app, when Sade elected to use it as a tracking service, she provided you with the information so that you could keep whereabouts. Isn't that the idea?
Yes.
Who else do you provide that access to? Never told you. Okay, so when you look at Life 360, when you open up the app, can you see all the different people with whom she shared her location?
No.
You just, all it shows you is where she's going or where the phone is going, right? Very good. You don't know if it's any other people that she shares that with. And you didn't know anything about Max Anderson, right?
No.
Had you ever gone to Victor's bar with Sade?
No.
So you'd never seen Max at Victor's?
No.
Didn't know he's a bartender?
No.
Sade never said anything about being scared of someone named Max?
No.
But Sade would talk to you about various dates going on and various men she was seeing, right?
Yes.
That's a common thing to talk about amongst friends, right? I met this guy, I met that guy, right?
Yeah.
This guy's creepy, this guy's weird, this guy's nice, this guy's mean, right?
Yeah.
Nicknames that girls have for guys. I call this one, I call this one guy Nelly because he might look like Nelly, for example, right?
Yes.
All right. And that's common, and you would discuss with her things like that on your end, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing I go through. I just wanted to show you these records right here. Is this how you did it? Zoom it in, right? Okay. Thank you. This is Exhibit 39 for the record. And yeah, out just a little bit. Thank you. That's perfect. Yep. So again, what you were going through before were 360 screenshot takes sent into the to try to example. And let me ask this. The night that Sade went missing, the night she went missing, did you ever talk to her that night? Was she texting you about that evening, how it was going or anything like that?
No.
You instantly. Okay. I've been messaging you. You would have wanted to turn that over to the police because that would be important, right?
Yes.
All right. So what we have here, for example, is just a map of Sade's 2-mile drive, right? It's a 2-mile drive, right?
Yes.
And shows the Menominee and shows something where specifically she was going, right?
No.
Did you know, for example, if she was going to the Twisted Fisherman, did you have any?
No.
And then when we see Sade's drive details, Clybourne Street to Water Street, you're familiar with Water Street, right?
Semi.
Hmm?
Semi.
Okay. Well, it's a street that has a lot of bars on it. You know that, right?
Yes.
And that was a place that Sade would go periodically, right?
Not sure.
And you didn't hold anything back from the police, right? You gave them every single thing that you had.
Yes.
And then the state was going through the reports with you, but there's a variety of places that Sade's Life 360 app showed her going that evening, right? There's numerous trips.
Yes.
We know about the last one where it ends at Warnemont Park, but before Warnemont Park, there's all sorts of Water Street to 40th Street, and then there's North Farwell to Canal Street. You've looked at all these, right?
Yes.
And in fact, even sometimes Life 360 shows, it even shows the speed that the vehicle was going, doesn't it?
Yes.
And it shows when phone usage is taking place.
Yes.
So it's providing, from as far as you know, it's providing data, information that you can look at to see if a person is safe, right?
Yes.
Is that the idea behind it, to make sure someone's safe?
Yes.
And this is very common, isn't it? Very common amongst the youngsters, young people. It's very common to share data, share their location, so others will know where they are, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's not a unique thing to Sade. That's something other friends of yours also do, right?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
State?
Briefly, do you
Sir, if you could just release.
How much? Oh, definitely. Got plenty of time.
Standing and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear
This is another one of her friends. It says witness found murdered woman's severed leg on the beach. Maybe he was just a witness.
Swear that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Could you please be seated, state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Osiris Terrell, Osyrusterrell.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Terrell. Do you remember the evening in the 5 o'clock hour of April 2nd, 2024?
Yeah,
Why do you remember that time and day?
it was pretty miserable. It was raining like pretty bad.
Where were you?
I was over by the beach.
And where, are we talking about in Milwaukee?
Cudahy.
Okay, is there a particular park or area that that beach is associated with?
Warmont.
Warnemont Park?
Yes.
Okay, were you there with anyone?
Yeah, a buddy of mine.
Who's that?
Evan.
What's Evan's last name?
You couldn't ask me that a million times.
And you don't know?
No.
Okay, so what happened at the beach that made you remember this day?
We were walking down there and there was a severed leg.
A severed human leg?
Yes.
Okay, where was that?
It was near the end of the trail down there.
Before we get into more details about that, could you describe what this area is like?
It's pretty, there's a lot of clay falling down from the cliff nearby. So it's pretty iffy if you can even get down there sometimes. And that week, it was raining pretty bad, like all week.
Okay, so you described the day that you were there as being pretty miserable and raining.
Yeah.
Do you remember that it was raining previously in the week?
Yeah.
Okay, can you describe, Warnemont Park's a big area, right?
Sort of.
Okay, can you just describe the area and how you would get down to the beach area that you're telling us about?
So there's two ways you can go down there. You can start from Sheridan Park and walk down the trail that way, but you're still gonna have to climb over a lot of stuff. The other way is there's like a gate on the south side that you can go down, but the hill is pretty steep. And even when you get down there, you have to climb through a couple trees just to get to the area. And it was raining for the past weeks, so it'd be pretty miserable to do it.
The gate that you're talking about, does that, is that part of a paved road,
Yeah,
like a service road?
yeah.
How did you become familiar with that area?
I've been going up and down that entire area for years.
If you were just in Warnemont Park, not down by the beach, would you necessarily be able to see this area?
Yeah, but there's a lot of trees in the way. You'd have to be like kind of at a weird angle.
And would that be like from the bluff area?
Yeah.
So you're down there with your friend, Evan, right?
Yeah.
Describe where you're walking when you see what you discover to be a human leg.
Kind of like the beach line, a really rocky area. It was covered in clay and just stuff falling from the cliff. Like this much around.
Okay, and you're holding out maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
3 foot spread?
Yeah.
Okay. And what drew your attention to the area?
It was just the intention the whole time. There's no other way we couldn't go back just because the waves were pretty like extreme that day. So we had to go over there and we just had no choice.
What drew your attention to the leg?
It was a pretty narrow path, so it's kind of hard to miss. At first we thought it was like a mannequin leg, but then we got a closer look and realized what it really was.
How'd that make you feel?
It's kind of hard to say even now. I don't think it's really hit me. We went up immediately, called the cops, and that's all I really remember from that time.
The police department came, right?
Yeah.
And did you have contact with a police officer or a couple police officers?
Yes, but most of the time I was in the car.
Okay. Were you down with the police officers on the beach area?
No.
You told them what you told us here today?
Yes.
Did you see any other people down by the beach when you were there?
No, it's just us that day.
That's all.
State anything further?
No.
Thank you, sir. You may stand. State your next witness.
It's bad when you have kids. You just wanted to surf, watch the beach. I don't know if you could fish it. It's just devastating. Devastating. Especially when you, like I said, you have kids down there and they're just minding their own business and all of a sudden a leg just pops up out of nowhere. That will merely frighten the innocent. Let's continue.
Zachary DeSmet.
Name for the record?
Name is Zachary DeSmet. First name is Zachary, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y. Last name DeSmet, D-E-S-M-E-T.
How are you employed?
The city of Cut.
As a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been with the Cudahy Police Department?
4 years.
Were you working on April 2nd, 2024?
Yes, I was.
And were you dispatched to Warnemont Park that day?
Yes, I was.
Around what time?
It was in the afternoon, early evening, late afternoon.
What were you dispatched there for?
I was dispatched there for a call reporting that they found a human leg on the beach.
Warnemont Park, is that in the city of Cudahy?
Yes, it is. We have two parks, Sheridan Park and Warnemont. They border each other.
So the Cudahy Police Department has jurisdiction over that area?
Typically, it's the sheriff's department that handles the parks, but if there's any imminent calls that come out or anybody that needs help immediately, we'll respond initially to stabilize the scene, and then it's usually turned over to the sheriff's department if needed.
Are you familiar with that area?
Yes, I am.
Can you describe the weather that day if you remember?
The weather was pretty rough. It was rainy, very cloudy, strong winds, especially down at the beach.
What did you do when you got there?
Excuse me. I arrived on scene traveling east on Pulaski Avenue, which comes from Lake Drive into the park. The water department is on the northeast corner of the intersection. Drive down, and then you'll come into with Sheridan Drive, and then there's another drive that leads down to the actual pump house with a gate. Arrived on scene, parked on Sheridan Drive facing north, and then observed two males in the field that would lead to the gate.
That location is in the county of Milwaukee, correct?
Yes, it is.
Describe I think what you described was like a service road with a gate.
Correct, yes.
Can you describe that further?
When you get, so there's the intersection, and then before you could turn right or south into Warnemont Golf Course or north onto Sheridan Drive. But then if you continue east, it's probably, 20 yards worth of road, a service gate, and then there's a gap in the fence where people can walk themselves.
Did you notice anything unusual about the service gate when you arrived?
I did. I noticed that it was pretty heavily damaged.
So that's not a service gate that's like open to the public, right?
Not usually, no. I think only our water department has access to that.
Was there anything else aside from the gate being damaged in that area?
Not initially when I observed, no.
But you said there were two individuals in a field.
Correct.
Were you able to identify those people?
Yes, we were.
Who were they?
It was Evan Millies and Osiris Terrell.
What did you later learn they were?
The people that discovered the leg down at the beach.
Was one of them the 911 caller?
Yes.
And did you have contact with them?
Yes, I did.
What happened next?
Well, I observed them to be, especially Mr. Millies, to be in a kind of a frantic state, obviously seeing something like that. They gave me a brief rundown that they think they found a human leg at the beach and wanted to show me where it was. So I had Mr. Terrell sit in the back of my squad car. I'm more familiar with Mr. Millies, so I had him take me down to the beach. We went through that side gate, or at the opening in the fence where people can walk through freely. When you walk down, it's a steep hill, because at that point of the park, it's very cliff-like. So there's the service drive down to the actual water pump house is very steep, so we walked down there.
Can you further describe that area?
Sure. So when you're walking down the service drive, like I said, it's very steep. It's wooded on both sides with a little bit of an embankment that goes up the sides of it. And when you get down to the bottom, it's actually brand new, renovated, I think last year or the year before. It's a pretty open area for vehicles to park. And then there's a building on the right-hand side that has a fence around it that I believe has 2 security cameras, barbed wire. It comes down to the lake. There's large rocks at the end of it where it immediately abuts with Lake Michigan.
What is that building?
That's the pump house.
Okay. And that is a Cudahy city-owned building?
Correct.
You said the newly renovated parking area, is that open to the public, or is that for the pump house?
That's for the pump house.
Okay, so there's not another public access to that area, is there?
That's correct, there's not.
So can the general public drive a car down there?
No, they cannot.
You're going down there with
For
Mr.
those who are
Miller?
not coming in, we're just covering parts of the the Sade Robinson case from a year ago, where Maxwell Anderson victimized Sade and cut her up into pieces. There were 2 witnesses down at the beach where they witnessed a severed leg, and the officer that they called on the scene is on the stand testifying.
Please, how he directs you towards the leg.
Sure. So when we got down to the bottom, he had pointed me north from there. Obviously, there's a lot of debris on the beach, driftwood, rocks, etc. So I couldn't just clearly see it, especially with the distance. Now I'm an evidence technician, so I know one thing that's really harped on in those trainings is keeping. So my initial plan was where there's the parking lot, there's kind of a steep hillside next to it where you can walk down. However, it was kind of sketchy that day because of the wetness. So my initial plan was I was going to have Mr. Millie yell direction to me. I attempted to do that, but after, like I said, with the wind and the waves crashing after about 20 yards, I couldn't even hear him anymore. So I reapproached him, had him come down with me. At that point, I had him walk in front of me. He had a jacket on, so I grabbed the back of his jacket just to be able to direct him. Or if I saw anything that I thought was of evidentiary value, I could direct him or prevent him from destroying or stepping on it.
For those who don't know, the picture I just displayed before you, that would be the 19-year-old that Maxwell had basically dismantled. She was only 19. Graduated from college. I should say graduated from high school, my bad. Graduated from high school, met this guy online, and they went to a couple places before they went back to the house. And then we all know what happened after that.
Can you describe, once you leave like the parking lot pump house area, is there a path? Is it like is there a clear way to get to the beach from there?
Not really. Like I said, there's kind of a hillside on the side that is walkable, but again, depending on the conditions, it can be kind of iffy. That day was kind of rough, but we were able to get down there. The beach at that part is primarily rock, smaller rock, but still kind of generally unstable to walk on. And then you'd have the lake or Lake Michigan on your right-hand side or the east side. And then on the west side would be a steep when I'm on Sheridan Parks.
As you and Mr. Millies are going through that area, what, if anything, do you see?
So like I said, there's a lot of water coming down off the sides of the cliff, a lot of debris. The waves were crashing pretty heavily. While I was walking down there before that, Mr. Millies told me that the leg was actually located on the side of the cliff, the side of the embankment, about 10 to 15 feet up. So as we were walking north on the beach, that's where I was initially looking.
So it was up from the water line.
Yes,
Approximately how far?
10 to 15 feet, he said, up on the embankment.
At what point do you see it?
We were walking probably for a little bit, probably about 100, 125 yards. And like I said, we were both looking left to the cliff, and he was estimating and saying that like it should be right around here based on some things that he had seen. And then as we continued walking, he got startled really quick. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, it's right there. And so I had moved him to the side, and about 5 to 8 feet in front of us was the leg was located there.
All apps are a no-no, but you just got to be careful with who you. I mean, if we're going to be honest, it can happen while meeting somebody in your local district. I mean, app is just an app. You can meet a regular person, or you can meet a psycho. And this was a damn psycho. He is, as a matter of fact, he's a serial killer. When they went back to the crib, she saw something that she shouldn't have had saw, because he was going to have sex with her first, but then he ended up seeing something that she shouldn't have seen. It was somebody else's blood, unalived her then, and then of course dismantled. That's because he was basically digging corpses. If you could see in his back, if you could go back to the tapes before, I think this was like 9 months ago, you can see that his whole backyard was just dug up. And even it downstairs, it was like a big giant hole. I'm thinking, what were you finna do with that? He was finna put as many bodies down at that particular area as he possibly could. While on the other side of it was his little sex dungeon. So after having sex with these individuals, he was going to unalive them and then bury them right there in his real estate.
And where was it relative to the embankment?
It was close to it, probably within 10 to 15 feet from the embankment.
Given the rain, was there that was happening?
So it was response to shut down the scene. The only ways into the scene are from the Pump House Road and the S curve down in Sheridan Park, which would be a significant walk, and then advise them on how to get to my location.
Before we go further, can you describe how
path, but it goes down, it is paved down to the beach. Then you'd have to walk further south. You'd have to walk south quite a ways on that beachfront to get.
What, when you located the leg, what were your impressions? What were you able to readily discern?
I could readily see that it was, I believe, to be a black female, a leg from either a late teenager or, younger black female.
What did you do then?
At that point, I had Mr. Millies stay. I put him on a rock, a bigger rock there. I told him to stay there, not move, and he stayed there until the MCSO, deputies Leon Martin and Michael Kruger arrived on scene, which at that point he was later escorted up there back up the hill to where I would assume he would be interviewed further in depth.
So the sheriff's department joined you.
Correct.
In your walk with Mr. Millies down the beach and in your observations in the area around the leg, was there anything else that you located?
I believe that on the way down there, Mr. Millies made me aware that there was like a bra and maybe a t-shirt that were located, but he was unaware if it was related. At that point, and Kruger took me down to the foot. Other than that, the leg did not, and I observed the cuts on the leg to be clean and not intentional, or intentional, I mean.
That the cuts were or were not intentional?
Were, that they were straight, not jagged, not torn.
Did you move the leg
further, or move the leg further west to prevent it from being taken by the water, which was documented on body camera as well.
How did you do that?
I grabbed it by the ankle with my left hand and under the thigh with my right hand. Physically picked it up, moved it about 5-10 feet, set it down in the same way that it was laying, and then advised my dispatch to log that it had been moved.
Did it appear to have been in the water or decomposed?
It did not appear to be decomposing. It appeared to be fresh, just based on my experience with other deceased humans. And there was a lack of blood. I didn't really see much blood on it at all, which also could be attributed to the rain that had been coming down.
That beach area, how would you describe the area in general?
It's usually pretty calm. We don't really ever get calls there mostly. If anything, it's usually like a dog complaint or someone just kind of loitering. But it's a beautiful area. It's not frequently traveled. It's hidden, secluded. Like I said, that was the second time I've ever been down there for an actual call.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Cross?
How long have you been a police officer?
4 years.
Okay, with Cudahy the whole time?
Yes, sir.
And Warmont Park is entirely within the geographical area of Cudahy, right?
Yes, sir.
And we have, would you agree with me that the park itself is 248 acres?
Sounds about right.
It has an 18-hole golf course.
Yes.
Has a dog park.
Yes. Further south, much further south, the dog park is, but yes.
Right, because Warmont Park stretches along the coast of Lake Michigan, basically, right?
Correct, from about Pulaski Avenue down to College Avenue.
Exactly. And so there's walking trails, right?
Yes, there are.
And there's, you said there's a dog park also at Warmont Park, right?
That's correct.
And doesn't the Oak Leaf Trail run through Warmont Park or into Warmont Park?
It does go through it.
Right, there's trails you can run on from Cudahy in Warmont Park and head north if you wanted to, right?
Yes, there's one paved path that goes to the park for the Oak Leaf Trail.
And there's even races that go through there. There's the South Shore Half Marathon, for example, that runs through that area, right?
There have been, yes.
So the park, when you say secluded, you're referring to that little beach area, but the park itself is not a secluded park, right?
That would be correct, yes.
In fact, it's a heavily trafficked park with lots of activities, right?
Yes, that part of the park where the pump house is located isn't as traveled as the other sections, but yes.
Right. And I think I heard you say before that a person, if they wanted to, can walk along the beach north to south or south to north. Didn't you say that?
Yes, I did.
In other words, where you find the leg, if a person had wanted to, they could walk up and down that beach north if they wanted to.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. This has come to the 2-hour mark, but I will be back sometime later on early tomorrow, and I will continue, to cover this story as I said I would. But I want to thank you all for those who came in. The timing was just horrific, so I'll let y'all know ahead of time when I'll covering the story. That way y'all can come in and settle in and everything. And with that being said, this is We-On-Loc Nation, and y'all have a great rest of your day until later on this afternoon. Peace.